Hi. Today I wanted to answer a few questions from the community and clarify something from my last video. The first item for today is from Azure Symbiote. Thank you for sharing your experience. That bit about the video game industry having creative people not being able to follow schedules explains much. This is a great comment. Thank you. There are definitely creatives that can't follow their schedules, but there's a bit more to it than that. There are many tasks that somebody has to do that are on the business side of making the game. You have contracts, you have schedules, you got to keep the lights on, you got to keep everybody's machines functioning, you have to buy coffee and food for the team. It's considered the boring stuff, and normally it's something that the creative team does not want to focus on. They want to focus on creating. They want to make art, they want to code, they want to compose music. And that's a good thing because there are people who love managing the schedules and supporting the team with the boring stuff so that the team can create. And that was my larger point. At Monolith, we tried to optimize people around the work that they loved doing. That is why we had the art development director doing all of the managing and worrying about schedules. A lot of times when people are missing their schedules, it's because the schedule was put together by someone that wasn't doing the work, some random manager who's never been an artist. That you don't want. You want the team doing the work to define it. And that does mean that the creators do have to spend a little time putting together an estimate that can get rolled up to the rest of the team. And then after that estimate, they can just focus on getting the work done in the timeline that they've defined. You've got to keep your creators creating as much as possible, and then you will win. Next are a few questions from Adam Tobin. I'm going to take them each one at a time. Do you think Microsoft is regretting not buying Epic Games and the Unreal Engine? It seems so ridiculous now to me, like, why not? Do you think they made the right decisions? If they did, they would have owned Fortnite, Minecraft, and Activision Blizzard. I don't know if Microsoft regrets not buying Epic Games. I do know that most acquisitions that take place actually don't end up working out in the long term. In the short term, you're totally fine. Take a look at Microsoft with Bungie. Bungie delivered Halo, and Halo was fantastic for Microsoft. No question about it. Unfortunately, Microsoft eventually lost Bungie, and 343 has never really been able to replace that talent or that team. When I think about Epic Games, back at the time we were thinking about XNA, they were a hard driving culture. They had a lot of direct feedback, they didn't mince words. They reminded me a lot of Microsoft when I joined in the 90s. By the time Xbox was thinking about making XNA, Microsoft had become a more sensitive and a lot slower moving than most of the game companies we worked with. This is normal. Companies slow down as they get big, bloated, and bureaucratic. I saw this at Facebook too. When Oculus was purchased by Facebook and we joined up, a lot of us found it laughable that they thought of themselves as fast. Of course, it's easy to have that perception when you're coming from Oculus, which was a startup with a bunch of VR enthusiasts on a mission. Oculus was the definition of fast. And here's the big issue with acquisitions. You can't know what made the team successful unless you were there embedded in the team. You might think it's the person you see talking to the press all the time, or maybe you think it's a particular leader or the owner, and they may only be a very small part of that success. You can't know. The magic is in the core team and how they work together. An average team that works well together will outperform a team of dysfunctional rock stars. This is true because they spend their time focusing on solving the game problems, not on attacking each other or complaining or playing politics. So I don't think Epic's culture would have survived. I think key people would have left, and I think Microsoft would have focused on Gears of War. If you've paid attention to what happened with Bungie, they tried several times to get a new game kicked off. And every time, they had to pull everybody back to work on the main franchise, which was Halo. Not anybody's fault, it's just what happens. You've got to take care of the main game. The next question, which game engines did Microsoft invest in? Almost every game team at Microsoft had their own engines. For example, GameOS, which I worked on, was from FASA. Bungie had their own engine, which they've rewritten many times. Everyone had their own engine, and this is why it was so difficult to get XNA kicked off. The problem was that people didn't want to take on a dependency from another team. I was conflicted. As a producer of a game, I agreed with them completely. I did not like dependencies because another team can totally mess up your schedule if they miss their dates, and you have no control over that. So, although I thought X and A was the good long term play, I could totally see their perspective about why they didn't want to do that. Last question. I've been a gamer forever. It started with family board game night. My family would sit down on a Friday night, pop some popcorn, and play as many games as we could in one evening with some great music playing at the same time. Eventually, when PCs were available, I became a PC gamer, and that's still where I like to play today. I'm a mono gamer, which means I find something I like and then I play it all the time. I had a 6-year obsession with Age of Empires, version 2 in particular, and it's led me to my current favorite game, which is Zero AD. I've loved a host of games over the years, but they typically fall into the real-time strategy, simulation, or city building along the lines of Roller Coaster Tycoon or Stardew Valley. I love co-op games. Playing through Halo 1 and 2 with my husband was one of the best times of my life in gaming. Of course, Horde mode in Gears was just amazing. Terraria was fantastic, as was Rock Band, because even my mom-in-law was into it. I love board games too. My latest is Forbidden Island. Thank you for your questions.